It's the 130th meeting between the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. And oddly enough, both coaches participated in this rivalry as players. Forrest Gregg of the Packers played for Lombardi, and Mike Ditka of the Bears played for George Halas. Ditka, who played tight end with a fire that Halas appreciated, has instilled that same fire in his Bears. They're undefeated. Forrest Gregg's Packers have sputtered more frequently than they've sparkled. They're 3-3, Allie, but they've played well the last 2 weeks.
You know, everybody talks about the ball clubs reflecting a coach's personality. These two do. Mike Ditka of the Bears, he was one of the early tight ends, mobile, aggressive, angry, catching the ball, angry at the officials. His defense is the same way. It's a dominating defense, a dictating defense, and his offense is led by an innovative, creative quarterback. Mike is creative. He is the one and only first coach I've seen on the sidelines wearing a two-color, white-collar shirt. Okay.
He's also the only head coach with a mustache.
Okay, and you know where I couldn't do that, but you know where I'm heading tonight by my garb. All right, now Forrest Gregg, he has the same explosiveness, but it's inside. It's like a volcano burning and ready to go. But Forrest was a consistent, great all-time tackle with technique and consistency. And his teams, right in the middle now, they're going to become that way, just like Forrest was a reflection of Vinnie Lombardi and those great Packer teams.
All right, we'll be back to look at the teams and their personalities right after this. A striking comparison at quarterback. A cocky young general and a battle-weary old pro. Allie, what did you think of Lynn Dickey's request to be benched last month?
Completely out of character for a man that's been playing on two very bad knees all these years. And if I'm Forrest Gregg, my biggest problem has to be, what do I tell the rest of my ball club to retain his leadership image?
Well, I doubt if Jim McMahon would ever request to be benched. He's a throwback to the early days of the NFL when men were men and the toughest played for the Chicago Bears. McMahon is the highest-rated quarterback in the NFC, but it's not his statistics. It's his style that's energized the Bears' offense. When he isn't banging helmets with offensive linemen after touchdowns, he's buying them dinner and drinks. This is no prima donna quarterback with the hairdryer in tow. He rolls up his sleeves just like a lineman. And he has a freshness and a sense of bravado that other players respond to. For instance, against the Vikings in Week 3, with a sore knee and back, he came off the bench in the second half and threw 2 touchdowns on his first 2 plays to rally the Bears to a 33-24 victory. Just as you can chart the Bears' fortunes through McMahon, Allie, the performance of quarterback Lynn Dickey speaks volumes about the 1985 Packers.
Well, okay, Steve, that's true. And right here now, he's up and down, just like the Packers have been. However, when he's able to stand up in there, I think he gives them a real good striking force with the pass.
Well, Dickey is now back in the lineup, and the Packers have won 2 straight. If the offensive line gives him time, Dickey can still be dangerous. Don't forget, this is the same quarterback who led the Packers to 7 wins in their last 8 games of 1984. This season, the Packers are a puzzle, but the pieces are beginning to fit together. They're still a big question mark, but a very potent one.
Steve, the Bears aren't a question mark. Their defense has established themselves as a dominating, attacking defense, and it's being imitated by a lot of teams in the league. Like all things in life, we know that imitation is the best form of flattery, and more important, though, we know that it's the best proof of credibility.
Well, this year the Bears' defense is getting help from its offense because they can take some risks now. They can go for an interception because they know that offense can come back and score. And as a matter of fact, the Bears' offense has scored more points than any team in the NFL.
You're talking about a prime contending ball club. Their defense keeps the points together, and that offense knows they can go out there with some high-risk plays and try to go get it. Along with that, they have a beautiful asset, and that's young McMahon. I'd like to address his mentality as a quarterback. When the camera comes in on him tonight, when he's over the center, look at those eyes. You can just sense he's saying, "Look out, fellas, I'm coming at you. See if you can stop us." Most other quarterbacks are saying, "Well, we're going to try this against you."
Well, the Bears' defense also plays with a distinct flair. We'll be back to look at the Maulers of the Midway right after this.
You remember when you were my age, Dad? Come on, Dad, you understand what I mean, right? It's my first car.
It's your money, son. But if you want my advice, buy another Subaru. It's been good to us.
Sure, Dad.
I thought we agreed you'd buy a Subaru.
But, Dad, I did.
The new Subaru XT Coupe. Inexpensive and built to stay that way.
When poet Carl Sandburg said Chicago was coarse, strong, and cunning, he was paying it a compliment. That description also fits the Bears' defense. They play the game the way Al Capone ran the loop. They open fire from every position and attack in all directions. The Chicago Bears defense has so many different formations that sometimes they don't even seem to know where to line up. But if they appear to be confused, think about the poor offensive linemen who are supposed to block them. So far this season, not many have. The Bears run many defenses, but here's one you'll probably see tonight. It's called the Dubs defense because it positions two linebackers, or as you see here, a linebacker and a safety on one side of the line. They also put three of their down linemen directly over the center and guards in order to get immediate pressure in the middle of an offense. No matter how Chicago lines up, the three down linemen in the middle are the core of the defense. Matched man-on-man with the two guards in center, Chicago feels that at least one of their men will dominate. Most of the time, they're right. This positioning makes running the middle very difficult, but it also puts immediate pressure directly on the quarterback. Last year, the Bears' defensive line had 6 sacks against Green Bay. When you take the power of tackles Dan Hampton and Steve McMichael and the quickness of defensive end Richard Dent, number 95, and add the element of surprise from so many different alignments, it's no wonder opponents don't know who to block. These constant man-on-man matchups also force cracks in an offense that the Bears can exploit. Against the Patriots, Richard Dent's outside rush and Dan Hampton's inside rush opened a gap. Outside linebacker Wilbur Marshall shot through it to the quarterback. Most linebackers concentrate on lateral pursuit, but Chicago linebackers generally attack straight up the field. Here's Otis Wilson, number 55, stopping a play before it gets started. Joe Theismann of the Redskins said that you can't prepare for the Bears defense like anyone else because no one else does the things they do. He should know because his Redskins were one of Chicago's 6 victims so far this season. Tonight, it will be the Packers' turn to see if they can solve the riddle of the Bears' defense.
The key matchup tonight is not an individual one, but a tactical one. How does the Green Bay offense match up against that all-out Bear pressure defense? The answer? A tightly organized game plan, both for passing and for run. Let's look at passing first. I think that's most important tonight. And one of the reasons is, if you take a look at the Bears, in a 28-team league on pass defense, they are 22nd. So that says to Dickey, hey, I might do a thing or two there. Okay, here we are. We've got the Bear defense, which shows anywhere from 3 to 8 people that can rush that offense. What the Packers must do is put their receivers into areas that could be much more vacant if there's a blitz going on in front of the defenders, and also allow Dickey to get the ball to the receiver. So we have James Lofton here as a wide receiver, number 80. He can run a 16-yard pattern and come right into the middle. Along with that, you've got an excellent tight end in Paul Kaufman, number 82. If there is blitz or whatever, he catches that ball in here at about 8 or 10 yards. And for the kicker, if you've got a lot of blitz going on, they can delay this back and send him in here at about 4 yards, and Dickey pops the ball. What he's accomplished is this. He's accomplished the ability to get the ball off to his receivers before those angry people get to him. And secondly, he's also able to get his receivers into the spaces that may be well left vacant by those Red Dog people. That's blitz, okay? Now, the Packers have shown an understanding on how to do this against other teams with blitz tactics, and we're going to take a look at that right now on film. To demonstrate the Packers' ability to handle blitz pressure here against the Vikings, we see Minnesota linebacker Dennis Johnson getting ready to blitz. When the ball is snapped, you will see Dickey fake a handoff to Eddie Lee Ivory, who is then in position to pick up the blitzing linebacker. This is an example of Dickey getting the ball to his receiver before any pass rusher can get to him. The receiver is James Lofton, who provides great pressure on any defensive secondary. Here against St. Louis, you will see Cardinal linebacker E.J. Jr. get ready to blitz Dickey. When the ball is snapped, you will see Ed West, number 86, run his pattern into the area vacated by the blitzing linebacker Jr. This is another way for the Packer pass offense to match the Bears' firing, shooting defense. Another tactic that the Packers must employ against the Bears' pressure defense is to throw to the running backs. As you see here, Packer back Jesse Clark, number 33, will set on a slight delay before moving into a vacated area in the Bear defense. Once more, quick release before sack time and receiver in the short open space. If the Packers truly understand how to handle that Bear pressure defense, then tonight, along with Lofton and the running backs, look for tight end Paul Kaufman, number 82, to be an important factor. And we'll be right back with the other offensive tool on how to crack Chicago's defensive pressure machine.
If you think there's no room for improvement in small trucks today, then go let the dog out, because you wouldn't want to know about Mazda's new Cab Plus, a small truck that's really big inside.
Introducing Mazda's all-new B2000 Cab Plus. One of the roomiest cabs in its class, includes room back here for 2 adults, plus unusual levels of quietness, ride, and handling. It's also the lowest priced extended cab truck by hundreds.
You wouldn't know anybody who would want something this special, would you?
Oh, that's great. When I needed a new chainsaw, I went right to a Boone dealer.
See, that Bear defense with its unorthodox alignment of people makes it very tough to run against. And they challenge you to pass. Those babies say, you've got to pass. The heck with that. You've got to have a percentage of running plays, specific running plays, to go against them.
Well, Allie, that sets up a very obvious matchup. The Bears' #1 rated running defense against the Packers' running offense, which is often overlooked, but it's the 5th best in the NFL.
Okay, but the answer is, remember what I said, specific type of running plays. The specific types, a dive, because there's an 8-man front. If you hit that dive, you might find a crack, or a dive with a back veering to a crack, or a counterplay that sets that defense in one position and then they get blockers. Now, if you do this, many times you're going to be stopped with a +1 or a +2 yard gain. However, if one of those 3 types of plays cracks that 8-man front,
There are only 3 men in the secondary.
and we're great at math, right?
Right.
8 from 11 is 3, exactly. And you've got yourself a +20 or a +25. Now, the upcoming plays that the 49ers show, they had the understanding of what type plays to run. As you see here, 2 outside linebackers, Otis Wilson and Wilbur Marshall, are lined up next to each other on the same side. And safety Dave Durson is positioned in what is a standard linebacker spot. Watch 49er back Roger Craig take a step to his right and then go in a counter direction to his left, following his blocking convoy as they crack the Bear front wall. On this play, characteristic of the Bear linebackers, Mike Singletary penetrates in blitz fashion at the snap of the ball. However, as on the previous play, 49er Roger Craig steps right, and as his blocking convoy forms, he follows with the counter move to his left. He hits the crack. So long, Singletary. There goes Roger. Now tonight, the Packers will run against the Bear defense not only from the standard offensive formation, with Dickey directly over the center, but also from the shotgun, as you see here. Here, against the Vikings defense, which is using a bear type of blitz tactic with a defensive back and linebacker, Dickey hands off to Eddie Lee Ivory on the maximum percentage running play to crack that blitzkrieg. With most of the defense coming forward, there is little support as Eddie Lee hits the crack in that big wall. Not for +1 or +2, but a +25. Okay, we've now seen the type of running plays and the type of passing plays that should be used, and we also know that Green Bay has the people that can employ these plays. What's important, though, is if they stay with these plays and use these people. That doesn't mean every play has to work. Even if it doesn't work, it's still part of the overall game plan that maintains pressure. And most important, they're not dancing to the other guy's tune. They're not wondering about who, how many, and where are they coming from. What they're saying is, we're going to pressure you against your defensive pressure.
Allie, it used to be when you played the Bears that your only concern was how to match up against all their multiple defenses. But now, Chicago's offense has just as many exotic maneuvers and variations as their defense. It's no longer the story of Walter and the 10 little Bears. A healthy Jim McMahon gives the Bears an offensive dimension they've never had before. His ability to run to his left, then throw back to his right, has surprised defenses all year. He's also the most accurate passer in the NFC, completing 63% of his throws. McMahon has always been a poised ball handler with a knack of masking his intentions. He's an excellent faker, making this play-action pass to Dennis McKinnon an effective weapon. With McMahon in the lineup, the Bears can play the total game, all facets, gambits, and deceits. Like this reverse to Walter Payton, number 34, who then delivers the ball back to McMahon. In their continuing search for new ways to win games, the Bears haven't forgotten the old standby, the running game. Payton is not carrying the ball as much, but his average gain per carry is higher because defenses can no longer concentrate just on him. Now, they must also think about how to match up against the improved Chicago passing attack.
The Bears certainly present greater flexibility of firepower. Payton catching the ball now besides running, and then you've got Galt and McKinnon. Those are tough people of defense. What you have to do, and if I were coaching Green Bay, you know what we would do this week? We say, those are tough people to get to. Let's get the hub of the wheel.
McMahon.
The big guy. And what you have shown is that he can come out to his left and do it better than anybody I've ever seen and get that ball off. That's a tough pressure. Okay, do you know why the right side of defensive lines and linebackers, why they can go out there and go in there and try to sack that?
We're probably used to all right-handed quarterbacks who roll in.
Exactly. The quarterbacks, right-handed guys, they want to go in the other direction. Right. So they can afford to really dash. But this week, they can't do that because they come down that line like that, and here goes McMahon. He's going to come out around. So we have a motto for the week in Green Bay, okay? The motto is contain, don't sack, hurry him, hurry him.
All right, Allie and I are going to hurry back with some final thoughts and predictions right after this.
There are some special things in this world that only a handful of people can appreciate. Now, maybe you're not one of these people. But if you are, spend some time getting to know Mazda's new RX-7. But I'll warn you, it'll flat spoil you for anything else.
Introducing Mazda's new generation RX-7. Its engine has the smoothest flow of power in the world. No one has a more advanced suspension system, and no one offers all this at this price.
It's pretty special, like you and me.
This buzz for everyone in the spotlight before the show begins.
This buzz for you. There's no one else who does it quite the way you do. So here's to you. Showtime,
Hey, just for you, that distinctively clean, crisp taste that says Budweiser.
Hey, man, nice job.
This buzz for you.
our total sports lineup's #1 Friday. First, meet New York's new center of attention with a special look at heralded rookie Patrick Ewing. He's in the spotlight in America's toughest sports town. The best of Bill Dance Outdoors is next.
I got one, Bill. Hit the net.
A fishing trip with Bill's unbeatable.
Got! Doggy, got!
Then the NFL Game of the Week's putting on the hits. It's the league's best matchup packed with gridiron heartbreaks and heroics. All Friday on the home of the America's Cup, ESPN.
Like most traditional rivalries, this one is usually 4 quarters of hard-fought competitive football. 9 of the last 10 games have been decided by a touchdown or less, Coach.
That's a very valid point. I've got one tonight. Now that he's healthy, Eddie Lee Ivory of the Packers, I think he's an outstanding running back, but very important, he really is an outstanding pass-catching back, and I think he's going to be effective tonight.
Well, Ali, the only problem the Bears have had this year, which you pointed out earlier, is defending against the pass. And if Dickey has time to throw, that flaw could be fatal because the Bears don't have the speed in that secondary to cover James Lofton and Phil Epps.
Steve, it sounds like you are leaning towards the underdog Packers. I got that feeling, and I've got you first tonight.
You're making me bat leadoff.
Who do you like and why?
Well, if you looked at the Packers a month ago, you would say this is a team that's ready to self-destruct. They seem, Allie, to be pulling in all different directions. But in looking at their footage over the past 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, this is a team that's pulling together as one now. And I feel very uncomfortable picking against the Bears at home, but this seems to be a season of upsets and underdogs, and I'm going to go with the Packers tonight.
Okay. And I feel the same about the Bears, though. Last year they were a little inconsistent. However, this year they smell it. And they've got the parts. It's the right mix of veteran players and the younger players. And my only reservation is if McMahon suddenly decides he can beat the world with anything he does and loses his judgment. That's what I mean. That's the only reservation. However, I'm going to temper that with what I think are real good football players on the Bears, and too many of them. And I'll pick them 31-14.
It's another split decision between the coach and the young filmmaker, right? For Allie Sherman, I'm Steve Sable. See you next week on Monday Night Matchup.
Monday Night Matchup was brought to you by Mazda, maker of the new generation RX-7, the 626, 323, and B2000 trucks. The more you look, the more you like Mazda value.
Fly the friendly skies of United, serving more of the nation's top 100 business centers than anyone.
You're not just flying, you're...
A striking comparison at quarterback. A cocky young general and a battle-weary old pro. Allie, what did you think of Lynn Dickey's request to be benched last month?
Completely out of character for a man that's been playing on 2 very bad knees all these years. And if I'm Forrest Gregg, my biggest problem has to be, what do I tell the rest of my ball club to retain his leadership image?
Well, I doubt if Jim McMahon would ever request to be benched. He's a throwback to the early days of the NFL when men were men and the toughest played for the Chicago Bears. McMahon is the highest-rated quarterback in the NFC, but it's not his statistics. It's his style that's energized the Bears' offense. When he isn't banging helmets with offensive linemen after touchdowns, he's buying them dinner and drinks. This is no prima donna quarterback with the hairdryer in tow. He rolls up his sleeves just like a lineman. And he has a freshness and a sense of bravado that other players respond to. For instance, against the Vikings in Week 3, with a sore knee and back, he came off the bench in the second half and threw 2 touchdowns on his first 2 plays to rally the Bears to a 33-24 victory. Just as you can chart the Bears' fortunes through McMahon, Allie, the performance of quarterback Lynn Dickey speaks volumes about the 1985 Packers.
Well, okay, Steve, that's true. And right here now, he's up and down, just like the Packers have been. However, when he's able to stand up in there, I think he gives them a real good striking force with the pass.
Well, Dickey is now back in the lineup, and the Packers have won 2 straight. If the offensive line gives him time, Dickey can still be dangerous. Don't forget, this is the same quarterback who led the Packers to 7 wins in their last 8 games of 1984. This season, the Packers are a puzzle, but the pieces are beginning to fit together. They're still a big question mark, but a very potent one.
Steve, the Bears aren't a question mark. Their defense is the same way. It's a dominating defense, a dictating defense, and his offense is led by an innovative, creative quarterback. Mike is creative. He is the one and only first coach I've seen on the sidelines wearing a 2-color white collar shirt. Okay.
He's also the only head coach with a mustache.
Okay, and you know where I couldn't do that, but you know where I'm heading tonight by my garb. All right, now Forrest Gregg. He has the same explosiveness, but it's inside. It's like a volcano burning and ready to go. But Forrest was a consistent, great all-time tackle with technique and consistency. And his teams, right in the middle now, they're going to become that way, just like Forrest was a reflection of Vinnie Lombardi and those great Packer teams.
All right, we'll be back to look at the teams and their personalities right after this. It's the 130th meeting between the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. And oddly enough, both coaches participated in this rivalry as players. Forrest Gregg of the Packers played for Lombardi, and Mike Ditka of the Bears played for George Halas. Ditka, who played tight end with a fire that Halas appreciated, has instilled that same fire in his Bears. They're undefeated. Forrest Gregg's Packers have sputtered more frequently than they've sparkled. They're 3-3, Allie, but they've played well the last 2 weeks.
You know, everybody talks about the ball clubs reflecting a coach's personality. These two do. Mike Ditka of the Bears, he was one of the early tight ends, mobile, aggressive, angry, catching the ball, angry at the officials. His defense